share to your own sphere. So that's what I want us to do today. Some of the, again, I'm still a creator, so a lot of the things I share may be from the perspective of a creator, but I'm going to just trust. I know, I don't even have to trust. I know that you guys are sophisticated enough to be able to take what I say and apply it within context. But if anything isn't clear, I have a few minutes to take questions at the end. So today I'm talking about the trust economy. Please give me a minute. Let me know if you can see my, please let me know if you can see. Let me know in the chat if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your
Also,
slide.
yeah, I also want to take this opportunity to say that I love an active audience. I love an engaged audience. So one of the ways that I will know that that's the case is I'm looking in the charts the whole time, because this is online. There's no way for me to really know if something resonates with you if you don't tell me. So please be active in the chat as much as you can. Another reason why that's important is because someone might get distracted, you know. Um, some of you are probably watching from home. So at the time when I say something important might be the time when someone gets distracted. So if you echo it in the chat, then we all kind of stay on the same page, even if, someone gets distracted for a quick second. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eduard. All right, let's get into it. So today I want us to talk about why the companies that win build audiences before markets. Now, one of the things that a lot of founders get wrong or startups get wrong is they think we have a great product, so we don't have anything to worry about. As long as we have a great product that solves a real problem in the real world, then we don't have anything else to worry about and we're okay. But a good product that nobody knows and nobody cares about and nobody trusts is that it's just a good product. And what will end up happening is we'll see people who are not as talented as us, who are not as passionate about the work as we are, continue to succeed and kill it and blow up and get the funding and get all the opportunities. And we stay on the sidelines looking at them, hating on them, and wondering why everybody will not subscribe to the product that's obviously the best product. But we need to understand that we're in an attention economy, and you have to play the game, whether you like it or not, whether you enjoy it or not, whether you think about it as less valuable than actually building the product. Unfortunately, it's not about you. You're not the end consumer, you're not the user. So no matter how noble your perspective is, you need to put yourself in the shoes of the people who you are creating for. That's the only way that you will move forward. You need to find a way to turn attention into leverage for yourself. If you do not have a plan for how you want to turn attention into leverage, you continue to play the very tough game of trying to sell a solid product whereas you can build attention, and from that attention it's so much easier to sell anything, right? But if you're only thinking about the product, then the product is the only thing you have. But you can have more than just the product. You can have more than just the company. You can actually have attention. And it's why a lot of startups are becoming media companies. Am I saying everybody should go do that? No. But there is a reason why. There's a reason why. In today's economy, attention is infrastructure. Trust is currency. Like people who are actually having people out there who trust you, that is currency. And today we're going to talk about how to just build that in a few minutes. Now, 30 years ago, if you wanted to in any way influence the perception that the public had of you, you had to spend a lot of money. You had to be on TV, you had to be in the newspaper, you had to pay for billboards, you had to have a production budget. It was a whole thing. Now we live in miraculous times where all you need is a smartphone and an internet connection. And I know that's an oversimplification, right? You're like, no, that's not all marketing takes. But when you strip it down to the basics, all you need is a thinking mind, a smartphone, and an internet connection. So we live in an era where it's so much easier to reach people in a different way, in an easy way, in a cheaper way than it has ever been. But I don't think enough founders are leaning into this. I don't think enough startups are leaning into this. Again, I'm sharing my perspective as someone who lives online, and I see all the ways that brands get this wrong. And so I think it's even great that someone in my position is speaking here because I'm outside the bubble. I'm from the outside looking in and saying, see, if you want to reach out to people like me, here's how. Rather than I think if I was inside the startup world, it would even, it's possible that my perspective and my contributions may not be as valuable on this topic specifically. So I like that I'm the one who's here talking about it as someone who doesn't fully understand the mechanics and inner workings of a startup. So the question now is, how do modern brands grow in this era where, it's just a smartphone, it's just an internet connection, which is easy, but what that means is because the barrier to entry is non-existent, anybody with any rubbish product can just come and advertise in the most unsavory ways. Some of the ads I see on TikTok have led me to attempts to delete somebody else's posts because they're just, some of them are just so bad. But they make them, they promote them. This on everybody's feed suddenly. But we need to talk about how to do it right. How do modern brands actually grow in today's day and age? And first thing I want to share, I want you to remember is that before you're in the business of anything, you're in the business of people. No matter what it is you sell, no matter what kind of product, whether it's software, whether it's hardware, whether you, in fact, this applies to all of life, whether you sell shoes or you sell glasses or you sell electronics, whatever it is you do, before you're in the business of anything, you're in the people business first. Why is this important? Because the money you want to make, where's it? Tell me in the comments. If the money you want to make, where is it? It's in other people's pockets, right? All the engagement you want, all the attention you want, is going to come from other people. So today I want to share something with you that I call the trust funnel. And I'm sure every startup has like a solid sales funnel. Like, this is how we're going to generate leads. This is how we're going to bring people into the system. And this is how we're going to take them on the journey from being a lead to being a paying customer, right? But one thing we don't always take into account is the fact that now we're in a world where you're fighting for people's attention in so many different directions. People's attention is pulled in so many different directions. Psychologists are saying, when you wake up, don't look at your screen first, because once you look at your screen, you're pulled in like 10 different directions all at the same time within a short amount of time, like 10 minutes. You know, 30 years ago, if you opened the newspaper to read, you knew what to expect in a sense, right? It was the news still, but like it was presented in a certain way. It had gone through some level of scrutiny. A journalist didn't just wake up and post it. But now when you open your phone and you open Instagram or TikTok, you're exposed to one person who's dancing, and then the next person is teaching, and then the next person is sending you a link to join their church prayers, and then another is a funny video, and then another is a video of a baby eating watermelons, and then another, and all you see all of these videos within 10 minutes. So with the people whose attention we want to turn into leverage, trust has to be built over a long period of time. Or maybe not necessarily a long period of time, but over a period of time regardless. So when you're trying to build a trust funnel, what you're asking is, how do I move people through stages of trust? How do I get them from the point where I'm totally unknown to the point where we're now seen, to the point where we're not only seen, but we're remembered? Because those are two different things. Every now and then, I go to an event, I meet someone and I say, "Hi, oh my gosh, what's your name? It's so good to meet you." They always tell me every now and then, they'll be like, "Oh, it's good to meet you too, but say that we've met before." And half the time, I don't remember ever meeting them because I probably met them in a rowdy place and an event. So being seen, being acknowledged, in fact, being purchased from, it's not the same thing as being remembered. It's another level, it's another stage. So if you've done the work of like putting yourself out there, marketing and getting yourself from being unknown to being seen, don't feel like, oh, we've achieved everything, we can now rest. No, you need to retarget the people who have seen you to make sure they move from there to remembering you when they're in a real life situation and they need a solution that you offer. You want them to immediately remember. One of the things I experience every now and then as an influencer is people will come to my DM and say, Serum, there's this app you promoted sometime last year or 2 years ago. They allow you to invest in US stocks or they allow me to send money to Canada. What app was that? And that's a video I made like a year ago, 2 years ago, but they come back to ask, right? So you see that seeing something is not the same as remembering. Now, you also want to then ask, how do I move them from remembering me to trusting, like actually trusting, knowing that, and trust is a matter of a promise being kept. That's how trust is built. Your brand is a promise. And with every single time that you do what you say your solution will do, what your app will do, what your, whatever, you are keeping that promise. And every time you keep that promise, trust is built. So at the point where you're thinking trust, you're not just thinking about, oh, how do we get seen? You're not thinking, how do we get remembered? You're thinking, how do we keep our promise? And how do we do it consistently? So moving people from there to buying to recommending, that's another level again. Um, and the reason why we're having this conversation and why I think, it's great that I'm the one having this conversation is because this is stuff that creators do in their sleep. Everything we're talking about here today is stuff that creators do every single day with every single post. They're constantly trying ideas, constantly putting themselves out there. Constantly, every time you open your Instagram and you go to the Reels tab and you see a creator that you've never seen before, and Instagram is showing you somebody you don't know, that's somebody who's going from unknown to seen. If you interact with that piece of content, you comment, you save, you share, the algorithm reads that as, oh, this person likes this type of content, so we'll show them more. That person shows up on your feed the next day again. You have the same feeling you had yesterday. Either they made you laugh, or they made you cry, or they made you learn something new. You had that feeling. The feeling repeats itself. It increases the chance that you remember them. And because you had the same feeling the 3 times you saw that post, you then trust it because they have kept the promise. They made a promise. They didn't say it in those words, but they made a promise that when you come on my page, when you see my contents, this is how it's going to make you feel. This is what it's going to do for you. Because of that, you now trust that every time I see a video from this person, I should stop and watch it because this is what's going to happen after I watch it. And because of that, they now feel confident to recommend because they now send it to their friends, right? Every time you see a funny video, your next instinct is to think, who can I send this to? And depending on how, extreme the video is, sometimes you have friends you can send some things to. Sometimes you have other friends that, this one is too dark. I can't send it to all my friends, but I can send it to this one person. And you know that everybody has that person who will get your dark humor. And then the final stage is being an advocate. Now, the point where advocating is happening, this person already sees themselves as part of what you are building. It's one of the reasons why when there are arguments online about which savings app you should use, people don't only say, I use Piggyvest or I use Carrywise. They say, I'm a Piggyvest person. Some people will say, I'm a Carrywise person, because at that point, it's part of how they see themselves. It's part of their own self. What's the word now? It's part of their own self concepts. Like this aligns with who I am as a person, not this is the tool I use to achieve this result. Now, all of these things, like I said, creators do this every day. So, which is why I think businesses need to start thinking like creators. I think businesses need to start behaving like creators, which is very, very hard to do, I understand, because for founders, for example, you spend a lot of time behind the scenes building. So the things that happen in front of the scenes, you don't really care about it very much because you think, My work is to make a good product. But I want you to know today that your work is to actually get that product in front of people. And there's so much to learn about how to do that from creators. What creators do is they build an audience, they build credibility, they build demand, and then based off of that, they can launch anything. So every business, but in order to do this, every business needs three stories. This is apart from product. I believe other speakers have spoken or will speak about that, in more detail. But on the story side of things, because storytelling is what will help you, stand out in this world that is saturated and where the barrier to entry is non-existent. Every business needs three stories. One, why we exist. Your mission, your belief, origin, your ethos, just how you see the world. Because now there are more and more people who are particular about how companies see the world, which was not a thing before, because we didn't think about, this is a totally modern concept. Before, we didn't think about companies as entities. We didn't care about the politics of companies. We didn't care about how they made their money. We didn't think about all of those things. But now those things actually matter. So people need to understand why we exist, what's our mission, who are we trying to reach out to, what problems are we trying to solve for those people. These things need to be clear. Like people who want to be in your audience or part of your community need to be able to see this at a like from a bird's eye view. Next question, next story you need to have is why trust us. And this is you asking a question of why should they care. And there's something about having spent years building something that makes you feel like there's no good reason why anyone wouldn't care about this. Unfortunately, that person was not in that process with you. So they have actually no reason to care. So you need to dig into this. Ask why should they care? Come up with proof, results, customer experiences, show your process, demonstrate authority, keep your promise. This is so important. And then finally, why now? In this way, you need to think about how you want to communicate the urgency of what you have. Because sometimes people see what you have to offer and they think, oh, this is a great product, this is a great solution, this is amazing, but they don't see how it applies to them in the present moments. So that's your job to do with storytelling to demonstrate how it affects people in the now so they see the urgency. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to take advantage of economic and social and cultural trends, right? And this is where trends come in. Now, there are a lot of founders who hate the concept of trends. They're just like, oh no, I'm not doing any trends. I'm not doing any dance. I'm just focusing on the work. But what trends do is they give you an in. So it's you showing that I understand what is happening right now. I'm not out of the loop. We understand what's happening, and here's what we're doing about it. Here's how it applies to us. Here's how it's connected to a solution we have for you. Right? So I only have a few minutes more. So let me just take you through the creator playbook and how creators approach content and how it can help you also. So just a few things, just a few mindsets that creators have that allows us to create in the way we do and makes things like marketing that seem like very broad and difficult tasks for startups so easy for creators. One, consistency beats intensity. Now, I find that a lot of startups, we tend to blow things up around certain events. So, for example, if we're launching a product, a startup will like send an email blast like, oh, we've created version 2 of this thing, and do a whole thing. A lot of the time people don't care. They don't know the amount of work that has gone into it. In fact, social media compresses efforts. I think that's something everyone here should know. Social media compresses effort, and let me explain what that means. Somebody does a vlog of like a travel vlog, of, oh, come with me as I travel to Senegal 7 days in Senegal. You watch a video where they documented 7 days of Senegal, you watch it in 1 minute. That's something somebody experienced for 7 whole days, but they've compressed into something that you watch while you're sitting on the toilet. If you've ever edited a video on your phone, you know how crazy it is. But no matter how many hours it takes you to edit something, it will be consumed in seconds. Now, because we are builders, because we are creators, we tend to think about the importance of a thing and how people should perceive it based on how much of ourselves we've poured into it. Unfortunately, that will never translate through social media. It just won't, no matter how hard you try. You make a video, it takes hours to sometimes make a 1 minute video that will be on social media. So what that means is consistency beats intensity. We tend to think, we've come up with these beautiful things. We need to make one big story about it. You're better off making 100 little stories than that one big story. Because when we make the one big story and it doesn't blow up, we then continue to beat the dead horse. Like, oh no, it needs to work. It needs to work. We put too much time into it. We put too much effort. We put in too many hours. No, consistency, small deposits of time and effort over a long period of time, more than intensity, big grand gestures. No, consistency beats intensity. Attention has to compound. Document more than you advertise. This is something creators understand so well that startups can learn from. Teach before you sell. Become the media. Become the media. It's not only about the product. The product has to become some sort of media. Community compounds faster than an audience. Trust can scale. This community part is so important, and that's why I asked the question of why now? Why trust us and why now? So people can see themselves in what it is you're talking about and know that, okay, this is a place where I need to belong. Relationships outperform reach. Finally, adoption is the destination. That's what you want at the end of the day for people to use your product, for people to get on board. Content is the vehicle. Your brand is the journey. Now, I say content is the vehicle, so you understand that content is a means to an end. It's not the end in itself. So, because sometimes I think a lot of founders tend to lean toward one extreme. They'll either be on the extreme where they're like, oh no, it's all about the product, we're not chasing clout, we're just here to build a wonderful product, and then they never do any marketing. Or they're on the other extreme where it's all about the marketing and it's not about the product. It's all about the marketing. Who's the latest person out of Big Brother? Pay them. Who's the biggest influencer? Pay them. Get everybody on board. But there is a middle, there's a balance. So adoption is your ultimate destination, is your goal. Content and your storytelling is the vehicle, and your brand is the journey. I say your brand is the journey because the journey never really ends, and every journey we take is more about the journey than any one destination. Once you hit one destination, you create another new goalpost. So, 5 assets every modern brand needs. You need attention. Here you're asking, can people discover you? Is it easy for people to discover you? And you need to be very creative about the ways in which you're going about this. What kind of content are you creating? It cannot only be promotional. It might also need to be entertaining. It might also need to be educational. It might also need to be resourceful. It cannot just be directly selling every single time. Second asset is credibility. Can people believe you? I think that's self-explanatory. Next is distribution. Let's talk about community first. Will people stay? Will they be able to create a sense of belonging with what you're building? Now, tech products do not offer any form of sense of belonging. It's the brand that is built around a tech product that can potentially create a sense of belonging. Distribution. Can you repeatedly reach people? Do you have a system for consistently reaching people through different platforms, through different avenues? And finally, narrative. Can people explain your company even when you're not in a room? Can people explain? Because one of my favorite definitions for what a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So if you've consistently made a promise with your brand and you've kept that promise, you then have a strong narrative with the people that buy into it. So can people explain what you do when you're not in the room? When there's an argument, and people say Netflix or Prime, will there be people who will be able to defend and say, this is why Prime is the hill I will die on? This is why Netflix is a better product. You're not even there. You're not even there to defend yourself. Whatever they say is what is going to be finally, right? So I want to leave you with these words. The companies that dominate the next decade, they won't necessarily have the best products. They'll have the clearest stories. They have the strongest trust, and they will have the most direct relationship with the people that they serve. Now, what I've just said here does not now mean that, oh, the companies who will blow up will not have the best products. So we're doomed to always have to only have mediocre products. No, this is a challenge to everyone who has a solid product to put yourself out there, because it's so much easier to have a better story when you have an even better product. But the problem is there's people out here who don't have imposter syndrome and they're just very confident, even though they're doing rubbish. But the thing is, fortune favors the brave. So what you might as well do with your solid product is to be louder, is to make more noise. One of the reasons why I'm always encouraging people to make content is because one of the reasons why social media is why we feel like social media is saturated is because it's just saturated with very low, mediocre content. I saw somebody yesterday talking about Olodo uprising. It's because we're celebrating things that are unsavory. But one of the reasons why that's working out well is because the people who have substance are afraid. People who have substance are timid. People who have substance are not talking, are not sharing it. And then we're complaining that, oh, there's this streamer that's very loud and uncouth, and that's the most famous person. That's a reflection of Nigerian content, when that's not the fact, right? There's so many people with content who are simply just wasting away. So let's not do that. So, like I said earlier, you need to become a media company. Your question should not be, should we become a media company? Your question should be, will my competitor do it first? Because everybody who wants to do things right in this attention economy has to become a media company in a sense. All right. If you forget everything I've said today, remember that before we're in the business of anything, we're in the people business. This is about people. It's not about just the product. It's about the people that you want to serve, and you have to meet them where they are. Sales and marketing is no longer, going to knock on doors and convincing people to get what they don't need. It's about studying the needs so well that you're able to meet people where they are and present yourself as a solution. Social media presents the opportunity for us to do this at a bigger scale than has ever been done in human history. Do not miss out on the wave. I wish you all the best, and I'm always rooting for you. The one thing that you do need to offer in all of this is value, and I think it begs the question: what even is value? a very short a very short explanation of what value is, and I'm closing, is whatever people want or need that they cannot give themselves. I think the problem is business people tend to think about the value they can offer only in terms of what their business is about. But people are more likely to buy from someone that they get other kinds of value from. So what being a media company allows you to do is it gives you the opportunity to offer so many forms of value: entertainment value, educational value, all different kinds of value, so that people end up with you when they decide to actually part with money. Right? Yeah. So those are my final words. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, let me know in the comments. Now I will be taking questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Salem. That was such a very engaging, exciting session. Thank you. It was really, really amazing to hear all that you have said today. I mean, I think from this session we got a lot of what they call those things, nuggets. I believe that we can just like post on our socials and say, oh yeah, Salem said this. For me, mine, I wrote it down, it says we are in an attention economy.